Everyone. Hello, my name is Steve Miller. I'm a math professor at Williams College, and this is the continuation of the coronavirus lectures on applications of quadratic equations. So today we're going to be doing trajectories in code. I have both of my assistants with me today, and it is a pleasure to thank the Journal of Number Theory and the Teachers of Scholars program for support. Just as a quick review, a quadratic equation is the form f of x is ax squared plus bx plus c. So it's a polynomial of degree 2. It has typically a quadratic term, ax squared, a linear term, bx, and a constant c. Sometimes instead of f of x, we sometimes use y, and we write y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So here is a plot of, I believe, 3x squared minus 5x plus 7. And if we wanted to evaluate this, if we put in a specific value like x equals 2, we would get 3 times 2 squared minus 5 times 2 plus 7 equals 9. So it's not too bad to evaluate a polynomial.
And that looks reasonable.
And it looks reasonable. And so we could actually check, if we take x equals 1, we would get 3 minus 5 plus 7. So that should be 5, right? And if you look at this, it does look like it's around 5 at 1, because this is 10, this is 15, so this is probably 5 here, and it's not 0. So it's always nice to just quickly check and see if something reasonable. So a cubic would be a polynomial of degree 3, a quartic of degree 4. So the first question is, how many points are needed to uniquely determine a quadratic? And the answer is 3. It's just like a line needed 2 points, a parabola needs 3. And it makes sense because we have A, B, and C. So every time I give you a point, that helps us get some information. So for example, let's imagine we know that 0, 7, 1, 5, and 2, 9 are all on the quadratic. Can we figure out what the quadratic is? And yes, in fact, we did this earlier. We just plug in when y equals 7, x was equal to 0, and we get, oh, this is easy. A times 0 squared plus b times 0 plus c. So c is just equal to 7. Right, that wasn't so bad. When we plug in x equals 1, we know y equals 5. So we get 5 is a plus b plus c. Well, we know c is 7. So if 5 equals a plus b plus 7, we get negative 2 is a plus b. We could solve for b in terms of a. Now, if we get b is just going to be negative 2 minus a. And then when we put in the point 29, y equals 9 when x equals 2. We get 9 is 4a plus 2b plus 7. C was 7, so we get 2 equals 4a plus 2b. And there's many ways to go from here. One thing we could do is we could multiply the first equation by 2 and then subtract that from the second, or subtract the second from the first. And if we do that, we can now eliminate the b's. We get 6 equals 2a, so a has to be 3, not a problem. Or as I mentioned, we could have solved for b in terms of a, and then plug that in here, and we would get this as just a function of a. If we did that, we would get b is negative 2 minus a, so 2 is equal to 4a plus 2b, which gives us 2 is equal to 4a plus 2 times minus 2 minus a. You expand it out, and you get the same equation as before. And again, not surprisingly, because it's the same, you get a equals 3. Right, so why do we care about this? Well, let's imagine we're being attacked by a cannon. If the cannon fires and hits us on the first shot, then it doesn't really matter, we're probably dead. But let's assume the cannon misses. What would you like to do to the cannon that missed? So we're being attacked by a cannon, the cannon fires at us and misses. Fire at it! Would you like to know where the cannon is so that you can hit it?
Yeah.
Yes. So imagine we observe 10 points. We don't know where the cannonball was launched, but we observe 10 points as the cannonball is coming down towards us as it misses. If we assume it's coming in a perfect parabola, can we determine where the cannon was? And if so, I'm going to pause the video and let you think about this for a moment. All right, so how could we figure out where what the parabola is? How could we figure out A, B, and C?
We could use the quadratic one.
No. How do we find A, B, and C?
We could use the 3 points.
Yeah.
We could find 3 points.
Yeah, since we have 10 points, we have more than enough points.
Yeah, and then to find where the cannon, we could use the quadratic.
We could use the quadratic formula, and that will give us, so we'll assume that the cannon is located on the ground. It's not on a raised hill. We'll just make things simple.
That is on the ground.
Which is, we'll assume it's at the same level as us. That's the great way to phrase it. We'll assume it's at the same level as us, or at least where the ball landed. So let's go back. I mentioned that we assumed that the trajectories are parabolas, but technically we never really showed this. In the previous lecture, here was the physics we said. The equation for the horizontal motion as a function of time was the initial velocity times time, and the y height as a function of time was the initial height plus the velocity times the sine of the angle times t minus 16 times t squared. Okay, so we did this in the previous lecture. So what we were doing is we were looking at how high is it as a function of time and how far it's traveled horizontally as a function of time. But that's not what we want to do. We want to look at where is it in xy space. We want to look at its trajectory in xy space. So what we have is the vertical function as a function of time was y of t is 6 plus 124t minus 16t squared. So we were assuming a batted baseball 6 feet above ground, 176 feet per second was the initial speed, 45-degree angle. The horizontal function as a function of time was just 124t. And again, we're assuming no friction, no air resistance. And so what I did here is I plotted the x distance as a function of time, and I plotted the y distance as a function of time. Does it make sense that the x distance is just growing and growing and growing? Yeah. Look at the function, it's just 124t. The longer it travels, the further it goes. What about the y? Well, it goes up and then it's going to hit the ground. So it makes sense that it's going to hit the ground at some point. And we saw it was a little bit before 8 seconds. We want to find y as a function of x. We have y as a function of t. We have x as a function of t. So my question to you is, how would you find y as a function of x? I'm going to pause the recording so that you can look at this. All right, so how do we find y as a function of x? Well, we know y is 6 plus 124t minus 16t squared, and we know x of t is just 124t, so we can solve for t in terms of x. And so what we did is we actually wrote this up in a separate screen, so we will, yeah. And so if x is 124t, we can replace t with something involving just x. So for example, if I tell you x equals 248, you would see that t equals 2. So we want to figure out what x corresponds to a given t. So we solve for t. And so the way to solve for t is we're almost there. We almost have t as a t equals x, but we have 124 times t is x. So if we divide both sides by 124, we then get t as x over 124. And it's exactly what we need to finish the problem. And so when we come over here, if x is 124t, t is x over 124. So when we substitute, we get y equals 6 plus 124, x divided by 124, that's just t, minus 16, x over 124 squared. So we see that y is 6 plus x minus 1 over 961x squared. And we do see that it is a parabola. So even though when we were talking about things earlier and we showed all those pictures, let's see if we can go all the way back to where those pictures were. For like baseball trajectories. You know, when we looked over here and we saw that those looked like parabolas, we hadn't proved that they were parabolas. You know, similarly over here for the water fountain, we hadn't proved that they were parabolas. Or if you are the unfortunate person being shot out of the cannon, that you're moving in a parabola. But now that we know that the vertical height, how high up we are, is a parabola, and the horizontal is linear in t, we can actually get that its trajectory in the xy plane is a parabola. So the parabola is a very important shape. Now, in real life, it's not going to be a perfect parabola. Why won't it be a perfect parabola?
Because of air resistance.
Because of air resistance. And in fact, we had a really nice picture. We'll pause it actually while we're looking for the picture. So we had a really nice picture where the blue was the theoretical parabola you would get, and the red is what happens with air resistance. So initially it's not too bad, but you can see that there is a significant difference. And if you look at the value we had, I think that the ball was going 967 feet, which seems a little bit high. This, if you look at this, this looks like maybe about a third of that. That's much more reasonable. 967 feet, that's pretty far to hit a baseball. Although I watched a video last night on some very strange baseball parks where one of them had center field that was 600 feet away.
606.
606 feet away. So you do occasionally need to be able to hit the ball this high. So we will finish applications of quadratic equations tomorrow when we do one last exercise which is how to use parabolas to do codes. So be sensible, have a great day, take care.